for the sky, boy.
Terrence the tractor had not been feeling well for the past week. His motor was being very dodgy, making him very sick and unable to work. "This is quite a shame," said Terrence to his owner at the shed. He longed to be fixed and back to normal, and so did his owner. "I'm not sure this problem can be mended here," he replied, "but I'll do my best to find you someone who can." And he left Terrence to fall miserably to sleep. That Saturday morning, his owner came with good news. "I've made arrangements for us to head to a repair yard today. We mustn't be late now, so do the best you can, and you'll have a nice long rest and a fixed motor." This made Terrence very happy, and so they started off to the repair yard. Terrence is not that quick, but they had plenty of time to get to the repair yard. As they crawled along, they noticed a group of people near a car in the road, so they came up to see what the fuss was about. "Our old car is broken down. It's a shame, as we had a polka show today past the repair yard and at the station beyond it." Terrence perked up. "We're headed to the repair yard, so I'll be happy to tell you as far as there." Terrence's owner was not so sure, but he agreed. Soon, everything was ready. "Go steady now, Terrence. A breakdown would never do," said his owner. Terrence tugged and slipped and slipped and tugged until he got going with the polka band's car. It was hard work, as Terrence was ill and the car with the polka band was very heavy and hard to pull. But at last, with one final effort, Terrence arrived at the yard. The band was very thankful for Terrence's help. Then one asked, "Can we get a photo with you, Terrence?" Terrence agreed, and they got the photo taken. Then they ran up the road to the station for their concert. By the next morning, Terrence was back at his shed from the repair yard, when his owner came to him with a paper in hand. "It seems my tractor's a celebrity." Terrence looked and gasped. The headline said, "Famous polka band making next album in honor of local orange tractor Terrence." "Well, that was very kind of them," he said as he went back to sleep, feeling very happy indeed. Terrence had just recently been repaired and had gone back to regular work feeling great. Never better, he said as he chugged along his field working very hard. A few days later, Thomas stopped by Terrence's field as usual. However, to Terrence's confusion, people got out of Annie and Clarabelle and started trekking towards the hills near his field. "Thomas, why did you drop your passengers off here?" Terrence asked. "Well, those aren't just normal passengers. They call themselves archaeologists, though I'm not quite sure what it is they do." This left Terrence more confused as Thomas headed off. He later asked his owner about the archaeologists. "Well, they're people who dig in the ground or other areas to uncover things from the past." Terrence thought this sounded very boring. "Where's the fun in digging for some random items?" he asked. "Well, some items can have value in their past and what that past meant," However, Terrence still believed archaeology to be a boring topic indeed. "I'd rather my own work," he said to himself during one of the last few days the archaeologists were meant to be there. However, as he turned, he saw what looked to be a gray shape in the field, and he was headed towards it. Excuse me, but there's a thing in the field. We'll need to remove it." So Terrence's owner slowed Terrence to a stop near the object. Then he got out and inspected the object. Then he got out his shovel and dug in a bit. Then Terrence's owner took a close look at the object. "I think I should show this to the archaeologist," Terrence's owner said. Terrence, although thinking it'd be nothing of value, just said nothing as his owner brought over one of the archaeologists. They soon finished digging up what looked to be a very old pot. "My goodness," started the archaeologist. "Terrence, it would seem your field has yielded what we were after. The ancient ruins of one of King Godred's estates. It just seems we've been digging in the wrong spot this whole time. This artifact we dug up is one of his vases." Terrence was amazed. He didn't know an old stone vase could mean that much, and was proud of his discovery. Then another archaeologist, who had heard everything, then asked Terrence's owner, "May we come back next time and dig round the outskirts of the field? It may lead us to what we're after." "Well, we'll need to work out specifics. However, I think that would be nice. Wouldn't you agree, Terrence?" "Oh yes," said Terrence. "It would be exciting to see your discoveries indeed." Daisy, the diesel rail car, was in a bit of a temper for a few weeks now. The summer had just begun, and it was very hot, which made her grumpy and boastful. One day she stopped by Terrence's field, meaning Terrence had the misfortune of bearing the most of her inconveniences. "Terrence, I can't understand why it's so hot. I mean, it's bad for me and my swerves." "Well," started Terrence, "it is summer, so factually the weather will change." Terrence was trying to be neutral. However, this made Daisy only more grumpy. "You're not helping, you silly tractor. What use do you even have?" "Well, I just serve my master and help out when needed." "That doesn't sound too useful. Meanwhile, I take passengers all along the branch, providing a great use of service to the branch, while you serve one person. Doesn't seem useful to me." Before Terrence could reply, Daisy flounced away. Terrence felt hurt. However, he didn't show it as he suppressed it. The next morning, Daisy talked to Toby about her frustrations with Terrence. "Toby, I don't see how that orange tractor is of any use to anyone." Toby was cross at this remark. "Now, come on, Daisy. He has done plenty. He's pulled Thomas out of the snow, he helped shut trucks for me on one occasion, and recently he towed a famous polka band's car far enough for them to get to their performance on the day it was happening. And he recently discovered an ancient artifact in his field for some archaeologists." "Pah! Those only help a minor range of individuals, whilst I'm helping literal loads of people on the branch every day by shuttling them up and down the line." "Well, Daisy," Toby replied, "one day Terrence will prove it. and he'll show you how he does it. Then you will understand. Daisy just left in a huff. The days soon grew hotter and hotter, making Daisy even more irritable. Once again, she stopped by Terrence's field. However, he was busy, so Terrence didn't pay mind to Daisy's being there while she just looked on in disapproval. "Only serves the few and not the many," she muttered to herself. Soon, she was able to leave. She started moving, but then, suddenly, she derailed. "Sacre bleu! What has happened?" she squealed. Her driver got out to inspect the situation. "Bother! A buckle in the tracks, that's why. Bugger this hot weather. Now about you. We can't get the cranes as they're currently being repaired." Terrence then came up. "Excuse me, but may I help?" Daisy just guffawed at this. "Oh, come now. I have a full load of passengers who aren't bothered to get out. You can't do it, especially since you're too accustomed to serving only one man." However, Daisy's driver was more willing to try. So Terrence got into position with his cable to pull Daisy back onto the rails. Everything was ready, and so Terrence pulled Daisy back onto the rails. That night at the sheds, Thomas and Percy began to sing a song when Daisy arrived. "Oh, a lazy carriage on wheels could not stop hating tractors. Who can really help it all? At least that's what she plastered. Then her battle got stuck on the ground. Who can to help? Terrence the tractor, oh how profound." And they laughed the night away, whilst Daisy just sulked. That was a good one. Next morning, Terrence's owner came to Terrence's shed to tell him some news. "I am going on holiday for the week, as it is the start of the summer, so you shall stay in your shed for that time being." Terrence sighed. "I'm sorry I don't have work for you. However, I think you'll appreciate the break in the shed." This made Terrence feel a little happier. "Well, have a good time on your vacation." "I will. See you in a week's time, Terrence." And so, Terrence's owner shut the doors and walked off to head to his vacation. Terrence was alone in his shed. However, he was used to this. As he was getting cozy, he felt something strange crawling on his tracks. At first, he felt a chill, but after looking, he could see a caterpillar crawling up onto him. "Aw, hey little fella," Terrence whispered to the caterpillar. "Why have you turned up in this little shed?" The caterpillar didn't respond, as it seemingly went to sleep. Terrence decided to do the same. He then, however, awoke to find the caterpillar had disappeared. Oh well, at least we had a good snooze together, as caterpillar buddies," he chuckled. Then, Terrence noticed a white object up in the corner of the shed, but he did not know what it was. A few days had passed, and Terrence still couldn't make sense of the white shape. That is, until it began to shake, and then a crack formed. My goodness, whatever is happening? Then, out of the object, came a beautiful butterfly. Terrence was in awe. Then, the butterfly came flying towards him, and perched once again on his running board. Wait a minute, Terrence began. Were you the caterpillar here a few days ago? The butterfly flapped around Terrence and came back to the same spot after he said so. Terrence took this as a yes. But we'll need to get you out into the wild. This shed is no good for a butterfly. Just then, the shed doors creaked open a slight bit thanks to the wind, just enough for the butterfly to escape. Well, little friend, you'll need to go. Head through the doors. But the butterfly just flapped onto the top of Terrence. Look, I like you as much as you like me, but this'll be the best for you. You probably have a family of butterflies to get to, don't you? After this, the butterfly flapped in front of Terrence, and landed on his nose for a bit. Then, finally, the butterfly left the shed to join the wilderness. Terrence was sad to see it go, but was happy it was finally out in its natural habitat again. Soon, the next day, Terrence's owner came back from his holiday. Well, Terrence, was your break good? Oh, yes, it was, Terrence replied. But I'm ready to get back to work. Good to hear. Now we best get started. And so Terrence set out to work. But as he did, he could see the butterfly fly past him before headed into the wilderness. Goodbye, friend. Hope we meet again, he said to himself.
One morning, Henry was feeling very sorry for himself. Sometimes he could pull trains, but sometimes he felt he had no strength at all. I suffer dreadfully and no one cares. Rubbish, Henry, snorted James. You don't work hard enough. Sir Topham Hatt spoke to him too. What's wrong with you, Henry? You have had lots of new parts and new paint, too, but they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another engine instead of you to do the work. This made Henry, his driver, and fireman very sad. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting when Henry came to the platform. He had taken off his hat and coat and put on overalls. Henry managed to start, but his fireman was not satisfied. Henry is a bad steamer, he said to Sir Topham Hatt. I build up his fire, but it doesn't give enough heat. Henry tried very hard, but it was no good. He didn't have enough steam and came to a stop outside Edward's station. Oh dear, thought Henry. I shall have to go away. Oh dear, oh dear. All he could do was to go slowly onto a siding, and Edward took charge of the train. Sir Topham Hatt and the fireman went on discussing Henry's troubles. What do you think is wrong, fireman? Asked Sir Topham Hatt. Excuse me, sir, he answered, but the fact is the coal is wrong. We've had a poor lot lately, and today it's worse. The other engines can manage. They have big fireboxes. Henry's is small and can't make the heat. With Welsh coal, he'd be a different engine. It's expensive, said Sir Topham Hatt, but Henry must have a fair chance. James shall go and fetch some. When the Welsh coal came, Henry's driver and fireman were excited. "Now we'll show them, Henry, old fellow." They carefully made his fire, putting large lumps of coal like a wall round the outside. Then the glowing middle part was covered with smaller lumps. "You're spoiling my fire," complained Henry. "Wait and see," said the fireman. "We'll have a roaring fire just when we want it." The fireman was right. When Henry reached the platform, the water was boiling nicely, and he had to let off steam. "How are you, Henry?" "Beep, beep, beep. I feel fine." "Have you a good fire, driver?" "Never better, sir, and plenty of steam." "No record breaking," warned Sir Topham Hatt. "Don't push him too hard." "Henry won't need pushing, sir. I'll have to hold him back." Henry had a lovely day. He had never felt so well in his life. He wanted to go fast, but his driver wouldn't let him. "Steady, old fellow," he would say. "There's plenty of time." They arrived early at the station. Thomas puffed in. "Where have you been, lazy bones?" asked Henry. "Oh, I can't wait for dawdling tank engines like you. Goodbye." "Whoosh!" said Thomas to the coaches. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" Both Annie and Clarabelle agreed that they never had. One winter evening, Henry's driver said, "We'll be out early tomorrow. We've got to take the Flying Kipper. Don't tell Gordon, but I think if we pull the Kipper nicely, Sir Topham Hatt will let us pull the Express. The special coal they gave you is working well." "Hooray!" cried Henry. "That will be lovely." All kinds of ships use the harbor at the big station by the sea. There are passenger ships, cargo ships, and fishing boats also come here. They unload their fish on the quay. Some of it goes to shops in the town, and the rest in a special train to other places far away. This is the train the railwaymen call the Flying Kipper. Henry was ready at 5 o'clock. There was snow and frost. Men hustled and shouted, loading up the crates of fish. The last door banged, the guard showed his green lamp, and the Flying Kipper was ready to go. Come on, don't be silly, puffed Henry to the freight cars. The cars shuddered and groaned. Trickety-trock, all right. That's better, puffed Henry. Clouds of smoke and steam poured from his funnel into the cold air, and the fire's light shone brightly. Hurry, panted Henry. They were going well. The light grew better. Signal lights shone green as they passed. Then a yellow signal appeared ahead. His driver prepared to stop, but the home signal was down. All clear, Henry. Away we go. They couldn't know the switches from the main line to a siding were frozen, and the home signal should have been set at danger, but snow had forced it down. A freight train was waiting in the siding to let the Flying Kipper pass, and the driver and fireman were drinking cocoa in the caboose. "The Kipper is due," said the conductor. "Who cares?" said the fireman. "This is good cocoa." The driver got up. "Come on, fireman, back to our engine." They got out just in time. Henry's driver and fireman had jumped clear before the crash, but Henry lay dazed and surprised. Sir Topham Hatt came to see him. "The signal was down, sir," said Henry. "Cheer up, Henry. It wasn't your fault. Ice and snow caused the accident. I'm sending you to Crewe, a fine place for sick engines. They'll give you a larger firebox. You'll feel a different engine, and you won't need special coal anymore. Won't that be nice?" "Yes, sir," said Henry, doubtfully. Henry liked being at Crewe, but was glad to come home. A crowd of people waited to see him arrive in his new shape. He looked so splendid and strong that they gave him 3 cheers. "Beep, beep," he whistled. "Thank you very much." I'm sorry to say that a lot of little children are often late for school because they wait to see Henry go by. They often see him pulling the express. He does it so well that Gordon is jealous. But that's another story. Gordon was cross. "He goes gallivanting off, leaving us to do his work, and comes back saying how happy he feels. It's disgraceful. And there's another thing. Henry whistles too much. No respectable engine ever whistles loudly at stations. It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it." Poor Henry didn't feel happy anymore. "Never mind," whispered Percy. "I'm glad you're home again. I like your whistling." "Goodbye, Henry," called Gordon. "We're glad to have you with us again, but remember what I said." Later, Henry stopped at Edward's station. "Hello, Henry," said Edward. "You look splendid. I was pleased to hear your happy whistle yesterday." "Thank you, Edward," smiled Henry. "Shh. Can you hear something?" "It sounds like Gordon," said Edward, "and it ought to be Gordon. But Gordon never whistled like that." It was Gordon. He came rushing down the hill at a tremendous rate. He didn't look at Henry, and he didn't look at Edward. He screamed straight through the station and disappeared. "Well," said Edward. "It isn't wrong," chuckled Henry, "but we just don't do it." And he told Edward what Gordon had said. Meanwhile, Gordon screeched along the line. The noise was awful. At the station, everyone covered their ears. Sir Topham Hatt covered his ears, too. "Take him away," he bellowed, "and stop that noise." Gordon puffed sadly away, but he wouldn't stop whistling until 2 fitters climbed up and knocked his whistle valve in place. That night, Gordon slunk into the shed. He was glad it was empty. "It isn't wrong," murmured Henry to no one in particular, "but we just don't do it." No one mentioned whistles.
Working on a laptop close to the end of a job I've been doing since 10:30. I don't believe that it's frozen again. The system has gone down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. I don't believe that it's frozen again. The system has gone down, oh. So I took it down to the help desk guy. I said, make it better or I'm gonna cry. He said, I'm sorry, your computer has died. The data can no longer be found, oh, found, oh, found, oh. He said, I'm sorry, your computer has died. The data can no longer be found, oh. To the roof with the laptop I did go. Over to the edge and I gave it a throw. And when it arrived 7 stories below, it really made a mighty fine sound, oh.
Next morning, Henry was enjoying himself enormously. I feel so well, I feel so well, he sang. Trickety-trock, hummed his coaches. Then he saw some boys on a bridge. Beep, beep, hello, he whistled. Oh, he called. The boys didn't wave and take his number. They thought it fun to drop stones on him instead. They've broken our glass, they've broken our glass, cried the coaches. The passengers weren't hurt, but they were cross. Call the police. No, said the driver. Leave it to Henry and me. What will you do? They asked. Can you keep a secret? Yes, yes. Well then, said the driver, Henry is going to sneeze at those boys. Lots of people were waiting at the station just before the bridge. They wanted to see what would happen. Henry has plenty of ashes, said the driver. Please keep all windows shut till we've passed the bridge. Henry's as excited as we are, aren't you, old fellow? Henry felt more stuffed up than excited. Soon they could see the boys, and they all had stones. Are you ready, Henry? Said the driver. Sneeze hard when I tell you. Now, he said. Achoo! Well done, Henry, laughed his driver. Henry went home, hoping that next time he saw Gordon and the boys, they would have learned not to be so mean.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Panama countdown. No need to be scared if you are prepared for ignition and the ultimate letdown. Said I to all of you, do you believe this is necessary? Said you to all of I, the test has proved this is necessary. Now don't be afraid, swallow your pride, do what they say, put it inside, return to your seat for a bumpy ride. Here we go with the Anima countdown.
9, 1, 7, 1, 5, 1, 3,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Anima countdown. Premeditate and prepare for your fate, or the moon may speak to the cold ground. In the blink of an eye, now it is done. Don't bother to cry, just steady your buns for a high colonic salutation, colorectal graduation, jet propulsion celebration. 3, 2, 1, Anima countdown.
And so, the coach continues to wander as a spirit. So be warned, make sure to treat all coaches with respect, or they might treat you to a cold end, like the ghost coach. Huh, that story wasn't even really scary. Yeah, not scary in the slightest, added Bill. Just then the yard manager arrived. Bill and Ben, head down to Brendam Docks. You're on shunting duty tonight. Do we have to? What's the matter? Scared of the ghost coach? Ben said, giggling, while Bill just glared as they headed to the docks. Once they got there, though, It felt very eerie, as if something was watching them. "Oh, I don't like this. Come on, Bill. Quit being a scaredy engine. We have work to do." However, before they could start, they began hearing a noise. "Oh, is that you, Ben? You better not be teasing me again." No, that wasn't. It can't be a ghost! The two didn't stop until they reached Edward's yard. "What are you two doing?" Edward said. We heard your ghost. Yeah, we did." Edward rolled his eyes. "Okay, I'll come with you two to the yard, and I'll show you there's no ghost." When they got there, they heard the sound again. Bill and Ben shuddered in fright, but Edward looked to his right and saw a peculiar shape. "Driver, can you shine some light over there?" He did, and they gasped. There, sitting between some buildings, was an old coach. Bill and Ben were horrified. "It's the ghost!" screamed Bill.
"Wait, I'm not a ghost,"
said the coach. "Who are you?" Edward asked.
"My name is Victoria. I've been here for 9 years as a workman's hut, but now they wish to scrap me, and I need your help."
"Don't worry, Victoria. Me and the twins will go speak to our controller to see if he can help." Well, here he is. Everyone jumped in surprise. I could hear all this from my old home. Now what's this about ghost coaches and gallivanting down the line? The twins felt embarrassed, but Edward spoke first. "Forgive me, sir. I was telling the twins ghost stories, so they aren't entirely to blame. However, can we direct our attention back at Victoria over there?" The fat controller looked over to see the coach. "Please, sir. She deserves to be a coach again after what she seems to have gone through." The fat controller thought hard, and then looked to Edward. "Well, Edward, I can certainly restore this coach. However, you certainly have caused mild amounts of disruption. I will overlook this, though. Just don't make it a habit." Edward chuckled. "Yes, sir. As for you two, you should have known better than to gallivant in the fog like that. As punishment, you both shall be the ones getting the coach out of the docks and all the way to the works." The twins groaned at this. After a week, the twins had managed to get Victoria and took her all the way to the works. Victoria was happy to be saved, and the whole way she was telling stories to Bill and Ben, which made them cross. I think they deserved it. Don't you? Edward had arrived at the works as he was due for maintenance. It had been a few weeks since him and the twins managed to convince the fat controller to restore Victoria. When he entered into the workshop, he saw her on the parallel track.
Victoria, how are you?
Greeted Edward. Victoria smiled.
I'm glad to see you again.
I see you're nearly ready to go.
That's right. I'll be working on your branch line when the workmen are finished.
Edward smiled at this, then realized something.
I think we used to work on the Furnace Railway together. However, I don't think I ever worked with you. Whilst we're here, may you tell me a story from your furnace days?
Well, I'd be happy to.
And this is the story Victoria told. There was an engine called Albert, who worked on a branch line with his two coaches, Elena and Victoria. They worked well together. However, at times, Albert could be in over his smoke box, such as one winter, where he'd be in a boastful mood.
Not to brag, my dear coaches, but I am an expert when it comes to handling ice and snow.
The coaches scoffed. They've heard this before each winter.
Do be careful, young Albert. One day, those words will be put to the test.
Albert ignored Victoria. As the weeks passed, Albert continued to boast about being able to handle the snow.
Snow won't stop me.
Then, it happened.
Oh no.
Albert was stuck in the snow.
Oh my, that does sound dreadful.
Edward proclaimed.
Yes, it took them all day to shovel all of us out. It's safe to say Albert never boasted about his ability to handle snow afterwards.
Edward chuckled.
You know, Thomas used to act the same way, and it got him into a similar situation himself.
Oh, I'd love to hear that story.
And the two continued to trade stories until they went to sleep. The next day at the works, the Fat Controller arrived.
Good morning, you two,
He started.
Now, Edward, I've trust you've been informed Victoria shall be working on your branch line?
Yes, sir,
said Edward.
Excellent. Now, Edward, you shall be taking Victoria there today, as both of you are ready to go. I'm happy to have you on my railway, Victoria.
Thank you, sir.
And the Fat Controller left. Soon, Edward was taking Victoria down the main line. It was going nicely, until he thought of something.
Victoria, how did you end up as a workman's hut?
Victoria sighed.
Well, you see, it wasn't pretty how I ended up here.
She began. The Furness Railway had recently taken losses and were approaching closure. As such, rolling stock needed to be sold in bulk to keep the company afloat. Helena and Victoria were in their yard. Albert had been long gone, and they've sat still for months awaiting their fate. Until one day, the station master came to see them.
Morning, you coaches. Today you're up for sale. However, Helena, you've already been sold to Sodor to become a workman's hut. Helena was furious.
How could I be the one set to be a hut? I'm in great condition.
What about me, sir?
Victoria asked. Well, I think you're headed to a museum to be on static display. Now I need to get going. Gotta pack my things. Can't believe this railway's gone to the shit.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it would end up like this.
Helena said nothing as she looked away, but then she had a devilish grin on her face as she came up with a plan. The next day, an engine came to take one of them away. Alright, which one of you is Helena? Suddenly, Helena interjected.
That would be the coach next to me.
Wait, no.
The next one to me is Helena. I'm Victoria, awaiting to go to a museum.
Wait, that's not...
Go ahead and take her away.
No matter how much Victoria tried to interject to tell the truth, Helena would interrupt her. As she was being taken away, she could see Helena's heinous glare. There was nothing she could do.
And that's how I ended up here.
That's awful. I've never heard of a coach that was so, cutthroat.
I do suppose one good thing came out of this.
What's that? Edward asked.
I had a chance of going back to work, whilst Helena is probably still stuck in the museum.
Edward definitely agreed to that as they neared Wellsworth.